From NBC 15, this is breaking news.
Breaking right now, a reported fire near Madison Kip, a manufacturing plant on Madison's east side. Our Caroline Peterson is on her way to the scene right now, and we're going to check in with her in just a few minutes.
We're tracking two developing stories for you tonight. Right now, more than 1 million people are in the dark in Louisiana. At least one life's been lost as tropical depression Ida pounds the southern U.S. But first, withdrawal complete. After 2 decades, the war in Afghanistan is over.
The final U.S. flight departing just before the president's August 31st deadline.
And you are looking at the final American soldier to leave Afghanistan. That is Major General Chris Donahue. As the final soldier to board a C-17, he marked the end of the U.S. mission there.
But what about those left behind? Team coverage begins with NBC 15's Elizabeth Wattis.
And Elizabeth, there are up to 200 Americans still on the ground.
Yeah, that number coming from the Secretary of State today. The U.S. Central Command added the military, quote, did not get everybody out that we wanted to get out. Both departments claim Americans will be able to leave no matter when they decide to. But the military mission in Afghanistan is over. Now begins the diplomatic mission. The Secretary of State says operations are now centered in Qatar. From there, the U.S. will work with allies to provide humanitarian assistance and coordination with communication with the Taliban.
We will not do it on the basis of trust or faith. Every step we take will be based not on what a Taliban-led government says, but what it does to live up to its commitments.
U.S. Central Command says the military evacuated about 6,000 U.S. citizens since flights began back on August 14th. Again, about 200 are still there. President Joe Biden is set to address the nation tomorrow. We'll learn a lot more then, but for now, live in the studio, Elizabeth Wattis, NBC 15 News.
Elizabeth, thank you. We're tracking the latest numbers out of Fort McCoy, housing some Afghan refugees who did leave the country. We know 44 flights have arrived since last Sunday, about 1 week ago. 10 of those arrived yesterday. Team coverage continues with NBC 15's Sonica Bargo live outside the Islamic Center of Madison. Sonica, you've learned local mosques are already preparing to welcome these refugees into the community.
Maria, the Islamic Center is one of 15 organizations statewide that make up the United Muslim Resettlement Council. It's a group that formed just yesterday to make sure Afghan refugees have access to all the services they need. A new coalition.
Everybody is ready to help these people.
Centered on making sure Afghan refugees are welcomed into Wisconsin.
Each and every organization will say we'll do this part of the service.
Ibrahim Saeed is the president of the Islamic Center of Madison, one of the organizations making up the United Muslim Resettlement Council. He says this effort gives him a sense of deja vu.
It brought back the early time when we helped the Afghanis after the Russian situation.
Just like then, Saeed says volunteers are already gearing up to help refugees start a new life.
We'll have translation teams, we have transportation teams.
A lot is still unknown.
We don't know how many people are going to be settled in Wisconsin or what city.
But there are things the Islamic Center is doing to help now, like collecting specific types of women's clothing to send to Fort McCoy.
If they have new scarves, if they have new clothing that they can donate.
Saeed says these are both a sign of religion and culture.
As if they are really still carrying their culture with them.
Even at Fort McCoy, Saeed is working on finding ways to make refugees feel at home.
Can we bring somebody there to at least lead the Friday prayer?
He hopes the Islamic Center can do that once refugees leave the military base.
We are hoping that they will come and join us here. We will see people from a different part of the world.
Saeed also told me even if no refugees resettle in Madison, he's still prepared to help. He and his volunteers will work on bringing resources wherever they're needed. Live in Madison, Sonica Bargo, NBC 15 News.
Still a lot developing here, of course. Our newsroom will continue speaking with Fort McCoy representatives as those refugees settle into their temporary homes.
So stay with us on air and online.
We are closely following now Tropical Depression Ida tonight. There is a live look at New Orleans where power outages could last more than 3 weeks. And right now, we know the storm has killed at least one person as search and rescue missions continue. More than 1 million people are still without power across Louisiana, including the entire city of New Orleans. Volunteers are answering the call to help. We know several local volunteers are there tonight.
Times I think, oh, I didn't do anything. I just, cut up a few small trees, and to them that means a lot. Someone was there to help them.
We also checked in with local energy companies in our area. Tomorrow, Alliant Energy is sending about 125 Iowa-based employees to help, but none from the Madison area at this point.
And more local help is on the way down I-94. Members from Generac Hurricane Response Team based in Waukesha will head south tomorrow morning to help fix generators. Let's bring in meteorologist Brian Dukes. Brian, you're going to show us a path that Ida's been leading down.
Yeah, we are far from over in terms of the possible destruction and devastation Ida's going to bring. It is still churning. Here's the 10 o'clock advisory coming out just 5 minutes ago. Still a depression. Winds are sustained at 35 miles an hour. This is moving out of Mississippi, Alabama, and into portions of Tennessee and Kentucky as it moves off to the north and east very, very slowly. And that's going to be the concern because it's going to bring a lot of heavy rain to areas that aren't accustomed to seeing 5-10 inches of rain. You can see the path here continues taking it through much of Tennessee as we head into the day Tuesday and into Wednesday. From there, it heads through the Virginias and eventually towards the East Coast as we head into the end of the week. So Thursday, Friday, it's going to be somewhere between Washington and New York City, and it is going to bring the potential of severe weather, flooding, rainfall, and a lot more problems. So again, we are far from over in terms of some problems. Locally, looking good. We're going to talk much more on that, though, coming up in your full First Alert forecast.
Well, this illustrates just how much rain fell in the southern U.S. This is out of Slidell, Louisiana. A woman spotted that dolphin swimming in the streets there. Our news and weather departments will continue to monitor Ida.
And power restoration may take weeks, but we'll let you know when the lights come back on.
We return to our breaking news coverage right now. A reported fire near Madison Kip, a manufacturing plant on Madison's east side.
And as we said, Caroline Peterson joins us live now. Caroline, what are you seeing?
Hey guys, right now we know this portion of Atwood. It's the 2824 is the address of the KIPP Corporation here, the building that allegedly caught fire here. It's going to be blocked for another 30 minutes as fire crews kind of clean up. Right now we don't know the extent of the fire, but we do know some people were evacuated. They're sitting on the side of the building right in front of me. Fire officials tell me that the call came in about 9:05 and the fire was put out 10 to 15 minutes later. Right now they're not aware of any injuries here again, but they're monitoring the situation. I just talked to, just a few minutes before this newscast, the division chief on scene here. Again, the fire was put out in about 10 to 15 minutes. You can't see any smoke currently, but we'll continue to monitor the situation as we learn more. And again, this road is going to be blocked off for about 30 minutes. Back to you guys.
Caroline Peterson, thank you. Well, the Madison Metropolitan School District passed a resolution today mandating the COVID-19 vaccine for staff. NBC 15's Gretchen Gerlach followed the story all day for us. Gretchen, a lot of work still needs to be done before this mandate takes effect, right?
That's right, Sean. Today's vote only means the board will move forward with drafting a mandate plan, but it will still be weeks before the actual mandate takes effect.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries.
A unanimous vote passes a COVID-19 vaccine resolution for MMSD staff. But with school starting for some students in a matter of days,
I cannot believe we are within a week of school and I am still asking questions.
Time is running out.
The main comment I received once this went up on board docs is are we going fast enough? Is trying to put a mandate in place by the end of September too slow?
Board members say they are doing the best they can.
I wish the timeline was sooner, but I'd rather have the discussion now than not have it at all.
But the mandate will not take effect overnight.
Yes, we're excited right now, but the tough work is to come.
Now the logistics, vaccine clinics, religious and health exemptions, all still up for discussion.
We have to come up with a system to protect everybody's privacy while collecting some very sensitive medical information. So we have to proceed cautiously.
While district staff vaccination rates are high,
Madison School District is potentially the school district with the highest number of vaccinated teachers, and that's something for us to be proud of.
It could still be 4 weeks until the official mandate is approved.
Again, today's vote basically allowed the plan to be created, and the next plan will be discussed on September 20th during a Operation Work meeting. The final plan will be voted on September 27th. In the studio tonight, Gretchen Gerlach, NBC 15 News.
The Madison Teachers Union Board of Directors is endorsing the move, adding staff should have to share proof of vaccination or be subject to testing. A similar response from a group of Madison area lawmakers.
Democratic State Senators Kelda Roys and Melissa Agard are asking the district to take every possible step to protect health and the public health and the well-being of children.
And school, as you know, starts later this week.
Moving on to our vaccine tracker, last week's vaccinations were higher than any other week in more than 2 months at nearly 68,000.
New at 10, the Mineral Point Opera House will require audience members, employees, and volunteers to be fully vaccinated to visit the theater. You can also provide a negative test within the past 72 hours. This starts October 1st. It's an approach taken by several other venues, including the Overture Center and the Alliant Energy Center. The Pfizer vaccine is one step closer to approval for full CDC approval. The Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices endorsed full approval for those 16 and older. This comes a week after the FDA granted full approval.
The European Union is recommending its 27 nations to reinstate restrictions on American tourists because of the rising infections in the U.S. Now, this means U.S. travelers should expect travel rules to change depending on the country you are traveling to. And 5 states that banned mask requirements in schools are now facing civil rights inquiries. The Education Department says it's investigating Iowa, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Utah. It says by preventing masks, students may not be able to safely attend school. The man convicted of killing University of Iowa student Molly Tibbetts will now spend the rest of his life in prison.
Christian Bahena Rivera will not have the possibility of parole.
You and you alone forever changed the lives of those who love Molly Tibbetts.
In May, a jury convicted the 27-year-old of first-degree murder in Tibbetts' death. Tibbetts disappeared while out on a run in July 2018. Bahena Rivera led investigators to her body a month later. Chandler Halderson will be back in court in 2 days. The 23-year-old faces 2 first-degree homicide charges for the deaths of his parents, Bart and Krista. This is a story NBC 15 has been following day by day since July. You can find an entire timeline of the case at NBC15.com. Still ahead at 10, we are heading to the pumpkin patch for something to smile about. A fall fan favorite return.
And I think we know who that made that pumpkin. But first, we have the cost of the 2020 election probe. The governor is now calling this outrageous.
And a bit more of a fall-like forecast. Your first alert forecast coming up.